Welcome back to part 2 of How to Roam featuring Evelynn. Now that you've got an idea of how the early game should flow, let's delve into some deeper concepts. Let's start with the most obvious subject that concerns Eve: vision wards and oracles. Many people believe that once you buy oracles or vision ward, Eve is no longer an issue. I like to play against these people because they tend to waste all of their gold and put themselves behind, saving me the trouble. Let's think about how people utilize vision wards. They drop them in the middle of their lane, which will give them a fairly large circle under which stealth will be revealed. They will tend to stay in this circle of vision because they know that Eve will be revealed before she is in range to attack. The reality of this situation is that a vision ward will only prevent Eve from sitting in a lane while stealth. If Eve runs directly in, the vision ward only gives you about 1 second advance notice that you are getting ganked. Vision wards tend to give people a false sense of security, so they start playing more aggressive, making for an easier kill. When playing Eve, it is vitally important to keep track of which lanes have been pinked and which have not. If you are unsure whether or not a lane has been pink warded, ask your teammate. If they don't know either, there's a good trick you can use to check for one safely. Simply walk in front of an enemy creep wave before it has aggroed on anything else. If the creeps follow you, that means you've been revealed, and you can safely conclude that a vision ward is in the area. When the enemy team has an oracles, you will no longer be able to scout as effectively as before. If the enemy champion with oracles is missing, you should never face check a brush. In the early to mid game, if an enemy buys an oracles, you should focus on killing them. If you let them keep it up for too long, they will be able to take control of the map by killing all of your wards, making the oracle pay for itself. This is especially the case for support champions, who don't farm and spend all of their gold on wards and oracles just to try to counter your roam. They won't be able to afford any survivability items if they go for that early oracles, meaning it will be that much easier to take it off of them, setting them back even further. If your team is pushing an enemy tower and the other team is nearby, you should not be hitting the tower. You are a squishy melee champion that will die the moment they initiate on you if you're in a position like that. Eve is much more useful for zoning the other team off the tower or trapping them in a bad position. Eve is a predator. I'm sure many of you have watched the Discovery Channel and should know that a predator does not just charge into a pack of its prey. It waits for one unlucky victim to break from the group, at which point you devour their soul. Counter-ganking is a huge part of roaming with Eve, as this is where the possibility opens up for a lot of kills. While you're looking to initiate ganks of your own, you should be mindful of where the enemy team will want to gank next. Here you can see Lee Sin is very low health and he's being chased by the enemy team. Cho'Gath and I are moving into support and Lee Sin does manage to get away. We turn the fight on them and end up chasing all the way to the inhibitor for an ace. This time, Renekton is getting ganked by 3 of the enemy champions. I prioritize Nocturne because he gets himself out of position by jumping under our tower range. Renekton goes down and I keep my distance until they view some cooldowns on Amumu, at which point I make my way back in and we continue chasing them down. When the other team is trying to get a kill on one of your teammates, they will be much more extended than if they were just farming. Many players tend to get tunnel vision when trying to kill an enemy, disregarding the impending danger of a counter gank. As a roamer, you should have constant awareness of where everyone is on the map, including the jungler. When moving from lane to lane, don't just stick to the river, investigate the enemy jungle as well. Often, especially in the early levels, you'll find the other team's jungler, and they will be low enough to get a kill on, or at least vulnerable enough to harass. There are 2 main ways Evelynn can initiate fights. The first way she can start it off is by catching an enemy out of position with her slow, enabling a follow-up from the rest of your team. When choosing a target to initiate on, always remember that catching low health, high damage enemies is your priority. Sometimes you'll see an enemy tank or bruiser in a pretty bad position, but you have to be able to weigh the situation. Know the amount of damage your team is capable of, and initiate accordingly. If you try to go on that tank or bruiser but your team doesn't have the damage to fully kill them, it is likely that the other team will counter-engage and you'll be in very bad shape. The second way to initiate fights is by baiting. When people see an Eve in the middle of their team, they experience an irresistible urge to kill her. You can utilize this to your advantage, baiting their cooldowns and bringing them out of position while you flash away and your team mops them up. Always keep in mind that because you roamed, your team solos are going to be more powerful than the enemy team solos. So if the enemy team focuses you, and even if they kill you, your team should be doing some serious damage in the meantime. The ideal situation you'll encounter with a bait initiation is getting away with low health, then circling back around and cleaning up the fight once you've adequately been healed by your ultimate. Another important aspect of EVE gameplay is timing. If you go in too early, you can just be focused down and killed. Too late, and the fight will already have been lost. Here, for example, I have to sacrifice Renekton's life while I wait for my team to be in position. Although he won't be happy about that decision, it's what will turn this into a winning fight. You should never run straight into a fight as Evelynn for two main reasons. One, you're incredibly squishy. If you run straight in, it's very likely you'll get blown up by AoE damage not even directed at you. Second, if the enemy team has an Oracles, you will get destroyed before you can even penetrate their front line. Instead, attack from the side, using your knowledge of good timing to engage in the fight on a high priority target. It will often be necessary to kite in and out of fights as you lose and gain health. In this example, my team has made the mistake of going in one at a time, but they have still managed to get the enemy team quite low. This is perfect for me as Eve, because I can clean it up no problem. I mess it up though by not igniting Morgana, which allows her to live long enough to get her ult off on me. If I had ignited her, I would have got the kill, healed, turned on Sona, then finished off Kate, turning a bad fight into a good trade. Instead, I simply died, ending the fight greatly in favor of the other team. So there you go. That's Evelynn. I'm really impressed you've made it all the way to the end. If you have any questions, feedback, or hate mail, please don't hesitate to leave it.
You have slain an enemy.